What is up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea, episode 191 for those who are counting. And yes, Daredevil Born Again has finally arrived. And we can't wait to get to talking about that on this Sunday evening. We got some other stuff to get into as well. We got a brand new episode of Harley Quinn Season 5, as well as Invincible Season 3. But as Wilson Fisk would say, much to do. Much to do. On this Sunday evening. But I'm Ed, and with me as always is Jason. Jason, what's up, my man? What's going on?
Vanessa, there is much to do tonight. We must take back the city. No, guys. Happy to be here this Sunday night. Getting ready to talk about Daredevil. Getting ready to talk about Harley Quinn, Invincible. But yeah, fun times. I'm gonna give a quick review of a movie I saw just on Friday while Ed shares out the show. So the monkey, which is it was a short story in the Skeleton Crew, which is where I got my wires mixed up for Stephen King. Any fans of horror? Anyone who just wants a good time to watch people die in weird, crazy ways? Go see this movie. This is a great movie. I had a lot of fun with it. It was a fun movie to see in the theater. I was working on that. I would practice it.
I did. When I was a boy. Oh, man. No, none of that in these first two episodes, at least, but I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. Yeah, I actually saw The Monkey, too. We talked about this. It's a crazy good fun flick. Again, if you're into horror, because it is pretty gory as well, but it is also got some serious dark humor in it. I would highly recommend it. It was good stuff.
Yeah, and actually there's a read on that movie that is all about stopping generational trauma, which I think is, I don't think I'm making a big thing here. I think that's a read on most movies. Disney does this now. Horror movies does this. I think we're dealing with a generation of people who are like coming to terms with their own generational trauma. But the monkey, and that's all I'm going to say. No, I'm not going to give any spoilers. But the monkey is symbolic of generational trauma in families. So if you're interested in that and horror, go see the movie.
Yeah, I would, like I said, I'd recommend it too. I actually got to see, Angie and I went to see Novocaine last night as well.
How was that?
I think you would like it.
I want to see that.
I think you would like it. It's a good action comedy. All right, it's a fun time.
Which I love action comedy.
Yeah, so they had like an advanced early screening last night. It was just one showing at 7:00 on a Saturday night, which is usually red flags for me because I won't go because I try to avoid, date night stuff and talkers and everything like that. But as we've learned, it's getting more difficult and more difficult to avoid them these days. So we just went with it. And I will pleasantly say, not one word out of anyone. It was awesome.
Nice. Beautiful.
Yes.
Beautiful. That's the way it should be.
Yeah, I think I'm on a streak of like 3 movies in a row, perhaps, that I've had this. I've had Novocaine, Mickey 17, And exactly, knock on wood, definitely. And that was it. And the monkey. Well, the monkey, I was the only one in the theater. So unless it was me,
that's the dream.
That is the dream.
That's the dream.
The big screen all to yourself.
How is Mickey 17? That's what I also really want to see.
It's a wacky movie. I will be completely honest. I don't want to give a full opinion on it because I dozed off a few times, and I don't think it was because of the movie.
Okay.
I think I was just tired. So it's a little bit unfair for me to say one way or the other. But from what I did see, there was some really great acting performances though by Robert Pattinson and Mark Ruffalo.
Okay.
So I will say that, but it's
right.
a little. It's got an incomplete from me.
Okay, I definitely want to see that. I think you know what I think we've decided over the summer because you've been telling me to get Regal Unlimited, and I'm just like I don't have time. I am actually this summer. We're sending Finn to camp. It's going to be the first summer that I will have to myself afternoons and time since he's been born.
Wow.
So I think over the summer I'm going to get it, and I'm just going to see a movie. I'm going to see everything. I'm going to get there at 11 o'clock so I can see it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be wonderful.
Dude, you should do it. I highly recommend it. You're going to have a blast with it. You're going to be like, you know something? This is the best membership I have to anything ever.
And to be honest, I briefly had that the movie going service that started this.
Movie Pass.
Movie Pass.
Yeah.
I had that for like 6 months before it went under.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I saw everything in the theater. It didn't matter. I had seen Rampage with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, which I would have seen anyway. I saw Game Night with Jason Bateman, which is something I wouldn't have seen, but there it was.
Yeah.
So I think I'm gonna do it over the summer. I'm just gonna see a shit ton of movies.
Nice. Yeah. Then you could also do the thing where like when I book tickets for us to go see like the Marvel movies or whatever, like the big movie that we're doing, you can just add someone to your friends list, so I can book tickets for you under the account, so vice versa.
Perfect. That's perfect because that means that actually takes that gives me more motivation because my one con that I was thinking was shit, but if I get that, then I have to book my own tickets. Ed can't do it for me. But no, if you could still do it for me, absolutely.
Oh no, I book for Angie and Joe all the time. Yours is the one I usually add on to the thing, so it'll be great. All right. Then let's jump into it since we have much to do on this Sunday evening. We got Harley Quinn, season 5, episode 8. Dropping that spoiler warning. Gonna leave that across because we are talking about all new episodes of stuff that dropped. Within spoiling everything. So you have been warned. You have not seen anything. Come back and jump in to the segment you want to see. All right. So Jason, Harley Quinn, season 5, episode 8. What do we got? What were your thoughts? Are we still on board? Are you not? Good, bad, indifferent? And whoa, Jason's gone. Man, he must have really disliked the episode. All right. Well, Jason's working on getting back here for a second. I will say that I thought this was a pretty solid episode. I thought it was a little bit. I think it was a little bit more serious than what we were used to with Harley Quinn. Out of the crazy, the crazy tone and stuff. That here we go, Jason.
Sorry, Lena Luther put me in a glass bottle, a very small bottle. She glassed me up. Sorry about that.
Yeah, I was just saying that I thought this episode was a little bit more serious at times than what we've been used to. I think,
Yeah, I agree. So this, I didn't dislike this episode. I didn't love this episode. I thought it was good, but you're right. It's not funny. Like I think I chuckled here and there at certain lines, but it wasn't one where I was like, oh shit, oh they got me again. They did it again. Mm-hmm. But the overall episode is pretty much we got two storylines. Poison is pissed off at Harley for asking Lena for help because Lena, as we saw in the last episode, kidnaps Frankette, which I don't think we talked about last episode because both of us really don't care about Frankette, so I think we forgot.
No, we weren't really like too thrilled about Frankette, and like there is no Frankette in this episode, like at all.
Well, no, there is very, very, very briefly, isn't there? Like in the ship, Frankette's doing something, and Lena goes,
Oh
you're
yeah,
still
she's like,
here.
"Oh
I
yeah,
don't
you're
need
still
you
here.
anymore."
Get away." Yeah, I mean, but I don't even think like Frankette has
Yeah.
a line. Just totally brushed
No,
away.
no, no, not at all. Not at all. Ivy goes to Lena's apartment to find a way to the ship to kill her and get Frankette back. She is like, Harley, we're not talking. I'm pissed at you. Go on. Go have your own adventure this episode. And Harley does. Harley gets a call from her dad telling her that her mother is dead. And so which story would you like to do first, Ed? Dealer's choice here.
I guess we can go with the Harley stuff first because that was I don't know. I didn't know what to think of that, to be completely honest with you. I thought it was, I don't know if it was supposed to be like this grand humorous thing, but didn't find it that funny.
I found it really depressing.
Yeah.
Like, because again, we're talking like this is a show that's like funny. And so the whole impetus, and when I get to the end, I'll tell you why I found it depressing. The whole thing is Harley comes home in a robe, and he was it John Quinzel or something like that. Nick Quinzel, and she comes home and her mother's still alive, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna grift me, aren't you? You're gonna rip me off or something." And you pretty much you get everything you need to know about Harley's home life as a kid. And why she became who she is, because this guy is like he's a grifter. He takes advantage of people, and so he says, "Come to the basement. I'll tell you why I told you your mother was dead, or the garage, or whatever it is," and knocks her out, and the whole ties her up, and it's like, "Nope, Lena paid me to kill you," but I was like, "Why do that when I can harvest your organs and have this surgeon cut them out of you while you're alive?" And then the surgeon thing was kind of funny because it's like, "Aren't you the guy who delivered my pizza or something like that?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, I got a career."
Yeah, it's like one of those help wanted guys that you hire just to kind of like hang pictures or do whatever it is, like kind of like jack of all trades kind of dude.
Like someone you get on TaskRabbit or something.
Yes, exactly.
And then Harley's she's struggling. The guy goes to cut her open. The plug comes out. He drops the knife. Harley gets it between her feet, uses it to get out, kills him. His last words are, "Rate us 5 stars," or something like that, which I thought that was fun.
Mm-hmm.
And then Lena's goons come in. Harley dispatches them all, and she's about to tell her dad exactly what she thinks of him, but he's dead. He was shot in the face. Literally shot his eyeball.
Yes.
Shot out. And that's the Harley. Like, we'll bring it back at the end, but like that's the Harley plot line away from Ivy.
Yeah, and the whole thing about like the mother and stuff like that, like I don't know, I don't know. It just seemed, again, I thought we were supposed to be like, it was supposed to be a lot. They thought it was funnier than we really was, but it really just
came off as depressing. Like this is a story I'd love to see explored in a serious Harley Quinn story.
Yes.
What happened in Harley Quinn's childhood to make her want to go into being a therapist, but completely grafting her personality onto someone as crazy as the Joker? And like, even if we're doing a Harley after she left the Joker, fine, that's great. But like, I want to see this serious. This was comedic, but it wasn't. I just found it depressing. It's like, oh my God, this Harley who I love, who makes me laugh so much, who's supposed to be light and funny, is just an abused little girl. And it was just too heavy for me for this show.
Yeah, we had a lot of heavy in our other 2 shows this week, which this one was supposed to be like the lighter. It's usually the lighter one. It definitely wasn't.
No, it wasn't. So that's the Harley thing. Ivy's whole thing is she's breaking into Lena Luthor's place, and I guess this is where the comedy's supposed to come in. And I did find this very funny, where the old woman who seems to be the maid is talking to her, and then she realizes that, and I think the woman says at some point, no, I've taken you off guard with this banter. And then she becomes the robot in charge of security. Ivy shuts it down by typing in Bruce's code, which is Bruce and Lena forever. And there's a funny moment where she's like, "Oh, Bruce, did you really you put forever?" Like making fun of the way you put it in.
Yeah.
She subdues the security bot. The security bot's following her around and reminds her, "Oh, you didn't think that Lena didn't have a backup plan, right?" And then so as she's trying to get the transporter working, these planes come, or these drones or whatever, and they bomb the shit out of the place. And Ivy escapes by using shield. There's Harley's dad's funeral. Harley realizes, shit, I never got to say my piece to him. If I were killed, I would have died thinking Ivy hated me. I got to go reconcile. They do. There's a nice moment of, even if I'm mad at you, I'll always love you. And then they realize, Ivy rather stole Lena's diary and is looking through it, and it's all about how much she wants to kill Lex. And they go, let's go break Lex out of prison. That'll cure this. That's probably my favorite moment in the episode, because you get her mom, who I think is really funny after all of that. Like, who could hate Lex Luthor? Oh, I'd polish his head till I could see my cooch shined in it. That was funny.
Yeah.
They go in, they're like blowing up Blackgate and looking for him, and her mom sees him come out, and she's like, I got my eyes on that sexy bald eagle. And she just rams the guards, hits Lex Luthor, grabs him in the car, and they've got him. And then they get back to Metropolis, and Lena has already put it in a jar and done a whole bunch of shit to piss Lex off. Like, I thought this was funny. I know that my brother hates when prime real estate is turned into places for artwork, because we always talk about Lex Luthor as the real estate scammer in the movies. So that was fun. And then, that's the episode. And then, and one more thing I want to point out, because this is absolutely a Simpsons reference. When they're at Nick Quinzel's funeral, there's a hot dog vendor coming around.
Yes. And
that is absolutely a nod to The Simpsons, because there's at one point in an episode where there's a hot dog guy following Homer, and Marge goes, at a funeral, like he's selling it at a funeral. And she goes, do you just follow my husband anywhere he goes? And he goes, lady, he put two of my kids through college. So want to shout out The Simpsons reference. But that's the episode. I thought it was fine. It just wasn't great.
Yeah, I don't the things, like, I guess the best parts of the episode for me was the Lena Lex stuff that you mentioned, like how much she hates her brother. She turns some buildings teal, the artwork stuff like that. Like, and they found she has like a book that is all about how much she hates Lex and fantasizes about killing Lex and everything. I thought that was actually pretty funny. The stuff around the maid with the security system that Bruce installed, for Lena and stuff like that. Yeah, that was making small talk and stuff like that. I thought that was pretty funny. Bruce just sitting around eating ice cream, crying on the couch and everything like that. That Lena's gone, or whatever like that. I was like, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I don't think they know what to do with Bruce Wayne at this point. So that's why they kind of just like cut to him occasionally just not being Batman and just running around doing weird shit or just nonsensical shit.
Yeah, I agree. I think they just at this point it's like he's the weepy billionaire. He's not really Batman. I mean,
he's not
anything.
Yeah, I would imagine he quit being Batman like 2 seasons ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Gotham is just running amok and everything like that, and God knows what's going on there, because I'm assuming they're going to go back there at some point, unless this is the last season. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's not the last season, I hope they have something planned, because as much as I love the show, as much as I have been enjoying this season, you start seeing cracks in the,
Yeah, this has been a lot of fun stuff in the season, but I kind of agree that this has not been my favorite season
Yeah.
of Harley Quinn yet. So yeah, I've started to wonder if maybe season 6 could be the last. I hope it does get its like farewell season and they don't just abruptly cancel it out of nowhere, because the show has been good enough to warrant like a proper ending.
I don't think they're going to cancel it. I think that at some point the people who make it are going to have to realize either we have more stories to tell or we don't.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope they decide whenever it is that they run out of stories, I hope they decide that we don't have anything instead of being canceled, you know, or like I'd much rather a show go out gracefully and really go out with dignity than be taken out to the back of the barn and shot.
Unless it's like Gotham Knights or Naomi.
No, but those shows never had dignity to begin with. Like...
That's true. So what is your basically the overall thing with the episode though was you said you wanted to talk about something like at the end of it, right? Or was that it?
Well, no, that was it. I said I'd bring it back to where they get Lex Luthor, because I was doing both of their different storylines. But you know, again, I was more depressed in the Harley storyline, and I think Harley's supposed to be the comedic storyline, and whereas I'm usually for a deep dive into a character, I just thought like this was not the way to do it. This was too heavy. Like this is we made fun of Bruce Wayne's parents dying, and we all laughed at it seasons ago. You can't now switch tones and show me this horrible life Harley had as an abused girl. Like, and like they imply that maybe, well, they outright say that she had a brother that was that's dead, and they kind of imply that the father did it.
Yeah, but that was it. They kind of just mentioned it and then kept it moving.
Yes, but again, dark. Like, why is that there?
I got nothing for you with that one.
So, yeah. So again, fine episode, but not to the caliber I'm used to for this show.
Agreed. All right. Well, I think we got 2 left in this season though. So, we'll see where it goes. Around. I am curious to know where it's going a little bit, like the takedown of Lena and stuff. And Brainiac is kind of stuck in a bottle and everything, but I don't know. But we'll see. And then I have a lot of wonders about like, is there going to be Superman's probably going to show up again once everything is already said and done because it was a way to write him out.
He's going to have to at some point, you know?
Yeah, eventually.
And I think this too, like, goes to show why I think it was a mistake that they dropped that Lois through line. Like, this could have been a couple of episodes about Lois and Harley working together to figure out what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it could have culminated in Frank being killed and all. And yes, we have to kill Lena, but like, instead of that, it feels like they set up a really interesting storyline and abandon it right away without really having any ideas of what to fill it with. And like this episode, though it wasn't filler, because it does progress the story, it felt like a filler episode.
There was a lot of filler in it that we like. I just wonder, like, is the Harley stuff going to be like, besides her mother being there? Is there anything that's going to pay off whatsoever?
Right.
I doubt it.
And maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll talk about it when we get to the end. But you're right. It felt like a lot of filler stuff.
If you're doing fillers in 10 episodes, not great.
Yeah, this isn't the golden age of TV where you got to fill 22 episodes a season. Like, you know, then yeah, you got to have fillers. But if you have 10 episodes, you got to have a tight season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so then let's jump over to Prime Video and Invincible season 3, episode 7. Definitely not a filler episode by any stretch of the imagination.
Oh, talk about it. We want to talk about a tight season. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, Invincible is they are bringing it. This may very well, it might be my favorite season.
No, this is hands down my favorite season already. Unless and the only way that'll change is if they fuck up the landing, and I don't see them do it.
Yeah, I don't foresee it either. So, Yeah, I thought this was an awesome episode. It was also I can't believe there's definitely heartbreak. Daredevil Born Again is not the only show that gave us some heartbreak this week. I can't believe I'm saying that
I
over
know
who I'm referencing either.
But I'm really upset that they just look spoilers. They fucking killed Rexplosion.
Yeah, Rexplode is done.
Okay with this?
Yeah, it's
but he went in an epic fucking way.
Oh,
that's a death to have.
Yeah, if you're gonna kill off a character that we all care about, you got to give him a proper death. And
yes,
Rex does get one for sure. I don't think there's any way he doesn't. So I was satisfied with that, but I definitely think I don't think this is like a Uncle Ben. I don't think this is like a everyone comes back in comics. I really believe he's dead.
I don't know how they bring him back.
Yeah,
because the show doesn't do anything that cheats it. This show, everything the show does logically makes sense. When Duplicate came back, it was I always keep a spare duplicate in case I get murdered. That fucking makes sense. Who among us, if we had that power, wouldn't do that? Mm-hmm. How the fuck Rexplosion literally to take down the Invincible clone, put his hands in his mouth and ignited his bones as explosives. I mean, geez, I don't understand. There was no way he's getting out of that.
No, he's dead. He's definitely dead. And the way that the show addresses it, I think, is definitely dead. Dead.
Yeah, and oh god. So this episode, here's the thing about this episode: not a lot of plot. A lot goes on, but this is an action episode.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So the whole impetus of this episode is the guy that we thought was dead from the multiverse through line from last season is not. He was taken, he got back to his, safe haven in the multiverse. He had these surgeons to fix them up, and they did. And he pretty much goes to all of the other multiverses and recruits as many Invincibles as he can, promising them all different things. If they just go to, I'm going to call this 616. I know that's a Marvel thing, but it's shorthand, so we know we're talking about the Prime Universe of Invincible. He takes them all to Invincible 616 and says, make them all hate him. Destroy things. Be evil. Have fun. And the way the episode is plotted out is in 3 days. Day 1, day 2, day 3 of this whole siege. And it's just a fucking bare-knuckle brawl between superheroes and these guys. And so, Invincible fights with them. They break Adam Eve's leg. They fuck her up big time. They fuck up what's his face? The guy who can't die.
They fuck up the Guardians of the Globe. Immortal gets it. Darkwing ends up sacrificing himself by taking one of them to another alternate reality. He's
coming back though. Yeah, that's my prediction.
I don't think he's dead.
But Darkwing was awesome because he's because Invincible was I killed the Guardians, and Darkwing's like, not all of them. Bang. You had that scene where he's hunting for the robot, and the kid is inside the robot. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just wholesale destruction. And I'm gonna say this: I got halfway through this episode and I didn't like it at first, right?
I had a feeling you were because of the violence.
It wasn't even the violence. Oh. I'm going to take you through my train of thought, right? My train of thought was this. I'm watching it and I go, well, we're kind of making this whole thing about action, and we're abandoning this whole thing about Mark mulling over if he's a good person or not, because the catalyst for that was him killing the doctor. Angstrom. Mm-hmm. And Angstrom's still alive. And Mark even talks about, I was worrying for nothing. And I was like, so as much as I thought the action was fine, I felt at first it was undercutting his emotional and character journey of the season. And then 5 minutes later, I went, no, that's fucking wrong. I'm an idiot, because it is actually deepening it. Because who's the enemy? The enemy is literally 20 of him from every other world. Like, it's really just deepening it because it's very possible he's the only good Mark in the fucking multiverse.
I mean, that from what we saw, it definitely would appear that way because they're all douchebags. One of them even looks like Omni-Man. He's got the mustache going and stuff like that. And they're all like pricks. And they're a lot of them talk about how they murdered their mother, murdered their father.
Yep. Most of them did murder their mother. One of them is there to kill her again. One of them is there to see her again. But that's the thing. It's like that's how smart this show is. It's like I for a second thought it was undercutting its own point, and I was like, oh no, it's just made it even more because clearly at some point Mark is going to realize, wait, am I the only good Mark in the fucking multiverse? And what does that say about what I could do if I took? Clearly, if I took one step in any direction in my path, I would not be this person. And I thought that was just so fucking brilliant.
Yeah, it's definitely, I also got that feeling too throughout the episode that this was basically kind of like, in a weird way, Mark kind of like looking in the mirror of what he kind of could be. So I did get that impression too. But man, these other Invincibles were fucking something, man. They really were, and getting like, you know, the whole thing with like, man, the way they kill the Immortal in this, or well, at least temporarily, and he like rips his fucking head off again, and like it rolls in front of Duplicate. I thought it was pretty vicious. It made me think back to the first episode with Omni-Man.
100%. It was, and I think it was supposed to. And as much as I hated the violence in that first episode, because I felt it existed with that context, this exists with a lot of context. And so I was actually here for it because I'm like, oh, they're mirroring what his father did. They're making the point that every single Mark Grayson, except for 616, becomes like or worse than Omni-Man, to the point where they've come back, because I think the guy who killed them like did it in his own universe, right? Or he says he watched his father do it, and now he gets to do it himself. Like they were making clear choices to use the imagery they did to evoke that first episode, and it was done with such skill that like I didn't even care about the violence because the context was really, really brilliant.
Yeah. And the thing, so I guess we talk about Explode and the way you mentioned he takes down as a last resort. He's fighting one of these marks, hits him with basically the kitchen sink and more, and then has one last thing to do, and he ends up sacrificing himself and charging himself, like you said, and exploding himself to take down. But earlier in the episode, he is helping the girlfriend's name. He's helping her move because she's like retired now, Shrinking Red.
Yep. And she wants to fight with him, and he says, no, not on your first day of retirement. You can't come out of retirement on your first day of retirement. I got this.
Which very, very much harkened to me, kind of like the way he was talking. I'm like, holy shit, they're going to fucking kill Rex. He's going to die.
Oh, yeah.
I had that feeling right away. It was kind of like in a horror movie where I'll be right back. I'm like, this motherfucker's going to die, isn't he?
Oh, God. And it was so heartbreaking. But he has, again, it's such a badass moment because, as you said, he throws everything with the kitchen sink, and this Mark is just fucking with him. He's like, all right, well, I'm going to take pleasure in killing you. And he says, yeah, well, at least I'm going to take you down with me. And Mark laughs in his face like, you got nothing left to explode. He goes, don't I? I mean, that's like I'm not happy he's gone. I think like he was a character that really grew on me, especially this season. But that's the way this character should go out, on his own fucking terms, taking out his killer.
Yeah, he went out the way that you definitely want to go out. And for someone who's come around from like being such a douchebag in season 1 and then season 2, and then you start seeing him like becoming a decent guy in this, and then we learned his backstory just last week.
Yep.
You're making us care too much to build us up. So freaking rip our hearts out this week.
Just to fucking sucker punch us, you fucking bastards. I love Rex Smoke.
R.I.P. Rex Smoke.
But then I think R.I.P. I think the one of the most interesting things too is that what winds up saving Mark's about to fucking get killed because he's fighting multiple of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And they do make a point to say that thankfully our Mark is stronger than these other ones, but still he's fighting multiple of them. And it's Cecil. Cecil like drops those creatures, those like cyborgs that Mark was like, no, we can't work with them. They again save his life for the second time. They help him bring Adam Eve back to the Pentagon so she could be, get the medical attention. And Cecil says to him, and I love this, Cecil's like, just because we're fighting doesn't mean that we're not the good guys. Of course I'm going to help you. You're one of us, even if we're fighting. And I think Cecil's being really more than reasonable there. And Mark is still like, Mark says to him, and I'm Team Cecil on this one, because Mark says to him, just because I'm working with you now doesn't mean we're working together again after this. And he still holds that reservation. And I think but I think part of that's going to be because, he's been, his whole arc has been, why am I redeemed? No one should be redeemed. And I think that's part of his guilt. And I think that's going to get worse after this episode because 20 of his doppelgangers pretty much came and destroyed so much, killed people that he cared about, that I think that's going to send him even further. And I think my prediction is by the end of this, Cecil and him are going to have not a fight, but like an emotional reconciliation because him and Cecil are way more similar than Mark wants to admit, or maybe even knows.
I agree. And during that conversation, Cecil does tell him like, hey, if you want to talk if you need someone to talk to and stuff like that, like I'm kind of here. And even though Mark tells him, throws it in his face and says, you're the last person I would want to talk to, he does say thank you when he's walking away though. So I think he's starting to kind of like wrestle with that whole concept, like you were mentioning.
Yeah, and again, like such a smart way to do it, and that's what I meant by violence in context, right? This violence spurs on the character growth, and then we didn't have that. I didn't have that knowledge and maybe in the first episode, if you were a reader of Invincible, where it's going and it's fine. But as a new viewer, I was just like, what the fuck am I watching? But now I think this was probably more violent than that episode. But understanding what the violence is underscoring, I think, is like really shows the masterful way the writers can balance true human emotion and over-the-top comic book violence. And there's a point to it. And I just think it's so well done.
And, well, before, like, the ending, because there was something very noticeable with the end of this episode. But the greater evil from the Viltrumite, I guess that's the last guy was talking about, has arrived now.
Yes. Yep.
And he's ready to throw down with Mark, like right now, like right after all this shit just happened, and the way that this episode ends when they go at each other like fist to fist, like they're about to go down, I was so pissed because I knew it was coming. And I wasn't clocking the runtime, and I'm like, fuck, this is where you're going to leave me off before the fucking finale, aren't you?
Of course it is. Is this the finale? Oh, no, the finale is the next one, right?
No, next week. Next week's the finale.
Next week, okay. Okay, good. But yeah, I knew that we weren't going to see the fight this time. But, I mean, what a fucking cliffhanger.
Super cliffhanger, and there's no post-credit to this.
No, that the scene with Angstrom, that's not a post-credit one. That was no,
that was during the episode. One? Yeah, that was during the episode.
Oh, okay, all right. I'm just so used to having post-credit scenes that for some reason my mind thought that one was.
No,
but,
it cut like right to it. And I kept looking. I'm like, wait, what? There's no, because usually Amazon Prime Video won't push you to the credits.
Oh yeah, right. You're right. It pushed me to the credits.
And I'm like, holy
You're right.
shit, it's over. It's so weird.
That's the next episode is going to be wild. And then what we see with Angstrom is these ghoulish surgeons who fix him up the first time. So like he escapes and Mark goes to grab him and pulls his arm out, and the hole closes, the portal closes and cuts his arm off.
Yeah.
And Angstrom's like, fix this. And they're like, no, if we fix it, we own you. And that kind of very chillingly ends. And those three things are creepy looking, the surgeons.
They are. They really are. And I don't know, man, like this has been some fucking like I'm kind of like there are some other seasons where, and especially with season 2 where they took the damn break and it felt like it was being dragged out. This season just has been breezing by. And you know, I guess it does speak to like we're both enjoying this one more. Because like it's been on such a great pace here.
And again, I mean, it's a tight season. The only episode that I would say could be considered maybe a filler episode is the episode where they fight the Fin Fang Foom looking motherfucker, you know? But even that, like, you get character moments. You get it pushes forward not the plot, but character growth with there's some good Rexplode stuff in there. There's some good. That's when Mark and Adam and Eve realize that they don't want to move too fast. Like that's I believe the episode where it's the episode where they start their business. It's the episode where you realize that Oliver is, you know, doing normal kid shit. So like plot wise, it could be considered filler, but I couldn't say it was filler because it does so much character work. Mm-hmm. So. I mean, again, a tight season.
Yeah, well, we'll see next week, I guess, if they stick the line there or not. Because I can't imagine they won't. Yeah,
I'd be surprised as shit if they didn't. I mean, imagine the few things that we've watched where we're like, no, that didn't stick the landing in a way that ruined the show. Like Secret Invasion. I think it's specifically Secret Invasion.
That's the one.
We got 4 episodes in, and we're like, this is not going to stick the landing. Is like you kind of know when it's not going to, right? Like I don't think I've ever been surprised where I've been like, wow, things have been perfect, and then you just took a shit on my computer, you know?
Yeah, that was. I feel like that was the one though. That really. I'm trying to think of another show that we've covered that pulled the Secret Invasion on, because that's what I refer to it as, the Secret Invasion. Because I kind of felt like I was on board until the last episode, and then they totally took a shit on my everything.
Yeah, but there were cracks though. Yes. We saw the cracks. We were on board, but we were kind of like, it's just a little water. I'm just gonna put my I'm Dutch. I'll just put my finger in this dam, and that should keep this show afloat, right?
Yeah, that's true. I guess if we're being honest, that's. The writing was on the wall.
Right.
Damn you, Secret Invasion.
Damn it. Oh, what a waste of a fucking good plot.
Yeah. Oh, all right. Well, that does bring us to the MCU. That's a perfect pathway here for Daredevil Born Again Season 1, because we do know Season 2 is currently in production in New York City, which when I do walk around Manhattan, I do look at trucks that are filming. And I'm like, is this going to be Daredevil? You know, and stuff like that, because they are here. And they did film some of this. I did notice a couple of spots right by my job. And I heard that they were filming around my job, but I didn't get a chance to like walk over there at the time. Because I did stumble upon Defenders when they were filming as well, when I worked down at Spring Street. So
that's awesome.
Jason, like, all right, I guess we can give our overall thoughts. And I also want to know your thoughts about, because you wrapped up season 3 of Daredevil for the first time just recently, right?
Yes.
You wrapped it up.
Yeah,
you said you went right into this.
Yeah, I wrapped it up Tuesday, and I wrapped it up Wednesday, and I watched this Thursday.
Okay. My overall thoughts, I thought this was fucking phenomenal. I think it was just there's really like a couple of immaculate scenes in these 2 episodes, right? That just, I mean, they brought you right back in. I do feel like it's a higher budget. I think it's noticeably a higher budget series. Not in a bad way. I'm fine with that because I mean they do have more money now. This is Marvel now doing their own thing with this, and this is Disney owned Marvel. So anyone with thoughts that they were going to Disneyfy this show and stuff like that, absolutely not. This is the same tone, same feel, same theme as the original Netflix series. I had a blast, and I cannot wait for Tuesday nights at 9:00 now because boy, this is like appointment TV for me, like right off the bat.
Yeah, no, this was really good. I'll say this. I think the people who were bitching that this was going to be Disneyfied, I think Disney actually put a bit more blood in this episode than I saw in the because again, I just watched the third season.
Yeah.
Third season is violent, but it's not bloody. There's fucking blood.
Mm-hmm.
All right, people are dying. Like I think Disney or Disney, whoever made the decisions for this were like, people think this is going to be Disneyfied. Let's take that violence up just a scotch, because I actually think this, based on these 2 episodes, based on the blood, based on the death, the kill count, based on things happening, like I think it's a bit more graphic than what we got on the original Netflix, and I think that was purposeful. And I'm okay with that. Like I'm not, it works. I thought there's a lot of great character stuff. I think my favorite scene in all of these, and I know we'll get to it, but I'm not going to spoil anything. But the diner scene with Fisk and Matt, I think is great. The only ding I'm going to have against it, and I'm sure I'm not the only one, and it's not a deal breaker, but it's something I got to bring up, is they did Foggy Nelson real dirty, and they wrote Karen Page out, and I kind of feel like I appreciate that they made this an extension of season 3. I thought the flow was really good. I just finished season 3. They bring back Bullseye. They make it clear he's still around. He's the one who kills Foggy. But like, it kind of felt like they went, well, we had this idea where Matt's going to be working in this law firm with this woman. And I think that was the idea. And then they went, okay, we're going to make it attached to the original Daredevil, but we're going to kill Janet? No. Fuck, what's her name?
What was that? You
what's the woman's name? I always forget. Claire, Janet.
Karen Page.
Karen Page, thank you. So it's like they kill off Foggy and kind of write Karen Page out of the show. And I felt like you shouldn't have been doing all of this promotion saying that they were going to be in the show, because they're not really.
Well, all right. As far as that goes, I'm going to hold off on that. I'm going to hold my thought on the writing out of Karen Page only because it's these 2 episodes. So if Karen, there's still
Foggy's
for Foggy's sake, sure, I can get on board with that. Karen being in San Francisco and the rift with Matt, like I think that's something that I will hold if she's not in the season or she's barely in it, then I'm probably going to be kind of annoyed. That'll be my ding against it, but I'm gonna hold my thoughts on that part. But yes, I guess we can talk about it right away since you had mentioned it. But I did want to know about your final thoughts on season 3 though, because you just finished it last week when we spoke to you. You still had some to go.
Season 3 was phenomenal. I loved it. I loved the ending. I was broken up when Nadeem died, and I like, you did not oversell it. It was literally, it's in the pantheon. It's the top 3. It's Daredevil season 1, Jessica Jones season 1, Daredevil season 3, and not even in that order. It was that good. And I think the way they resolved the stuff was very interesting in this too. Like, I like if you're gonna kill Foggy, I like that it's Daredevil, that it's Bullseye, and you notice they didn't kill Bullseye, so
Nope.
he's coming back. He'll be around.
Yeah, for sure. There's no, even though I guess I'm going to talk about that. I want to talk about him in a second. So the opening scene that we get in Josie's, right after we see and rewatching it, by the way, and seeing the three of them walking down the street, chatting and happy and stuff like that, I'm like,
oh, nice. It was
it
beautiful.
It was nice, and they were talking about like Foggy has a line something about like reverence for the past, like hope for the future, whatever it is, and I'm like, okay, that's a cool way to like acknowledging that, kind of like what the show is doing, and then we get this scene in a bar, everyone's chatting, having a good time. It's kind of like a retirement party here, and in Josie's. And by the way, there is a Jessica Jones season 3 reference in here that Foggy makes because he mentions that he was working at a law firm with Hogarth.
That's right. I forgot. I didn't even put that together.
Yeah, he that was referencing the last time we saw Foggy, which was in Jessica Jones season 3. So I thought that was really cool. There's on TV that they're showing Daredevil's fighting White Tiger. More on White Tiger in a little bit. That's going on there. But then then we see a paperclip take something out by a light bulb, which was like, oh shit, Bullseye's here. That's why my mind went immediately.
Like, we knew where that was
exactly. Going. I'm like, there's nothing good is going to come out of this now. And I was like, wow, like fasten your seatbelts like right away. And Foggy is on a phone and he outside of Josie's and he gets shot. And he goes down and there's other people getting shot there as well. Bullseye's got his rematch, and it leads immediately into Daredevil swinging into the action, and Bullseye versus Daredevil. We get that again, and throughout the fight, though, the fact that we hear Foggy's heartbeat because Karen's with him on the floor while he's like bleeding out, and they're waiting for paramedics to arrive. There's this wild, crazy Daredevil versus Bullseye fight that starts on the ground. It goes through the bar. It goes up into the building. We get him in a hallway, which every time you get Daredevil in a fucking hallway, some crazy shit's about to go down. And it doesn't hold back. It totally delivers. Bullseye's hitting him with everything. He looks like a porcupine with how much shit he's got. But it's his armor that's saving him, though. Right? Like,
yes.
Yeah, he's got his shit together.
Yeah, no. Yeah, he was.
Yeah, no, the Daredevil suit is, obviously it's come a long way in all these seasons, and that fight spills out and ends up on top of the roof. But throughout everything, Matt is listening to Foggy's heartbeat throughout the entire thing, which I learned, by the way, in an interview that was actually Charlie Cox's idea.
Really?
Yes, he suggested that, and they were like, "Yes, that's absolutely perfect," and that's why that's there. I thought
that's
that was great.
That's why he's the perfect fucking Daredevil, because he's really owned the character. You know what I'm saying? Like he's read those books. He knows what this character can do. He knows his loyalties. Thank you, Charlie Cox, because he listens to our show.
Listen, Tim ran into him on the L train, so who the hell knows? Like it could
actually, yeah. You never know. He seems like he's the kind of guy that if I've met in a bar, I'd want to have a beer with, and I don't think that about most celebrities. But he just seems like a cool guy. Yeah, he rides the L train. He petitioned to get the other actors back. Like he seems like a good guy.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing that got me, that like throughout the whole fight, he's having this crazy fight with fucking Bullseye, and he's listening. His mind is on Foggy the entire time, his best friend. Yeah. And it spills onto the roof, and then he hears it stop. And then Matt totally fucking breaks down right there. And the way he's had it at that point, he is so like done. And you see Bullseye laughing and smiling about it, even though he's getting the shit beat out of him. The way he just like does this and just like pushes him off the roof, then like
Yeah,
I'm
he
just
loses
so
it.
done. Yeah. And
Because up until that moment, he's not trying to kill him. He's just trying to, bring him down and bring him to justice or whatever. But once Foggy dies, and symbolic, part of him, part of his humanity, part of his past dies. And he's like, and he loses it. He's like, all right, fuck you. You want to kill Foggy? I kill you.
yeah, he just did not give a fuck at all at that point. But Bullseye lives. You know, Bullseye lives. You could, I don't know if we want to say it's just kind of like he got thrown off a fucking roof, dude, and he lives.
Yeah.
I don't know if we're gonna go Palpatine route, like somehow Bullseye lives.
I don't even think it's necessary for that. I mean, look, he wasn't in great shape. He didn't walk away. He was hospitalized.
Oh, yeah.
He was hurt. And the fact is, it wasn't what was it? 3 stories, 2 stories? Like, it wasn't a skyscraper.
No. If he had thrown him off like a real New York City skyscraper, yeah, then I would have more questions. But I don't know. I'm gonna be honest, because we don't learn right away that he's alive until after, because this scene leads into the credits, right? And
yes, that's right.
Yeah, so Matt takes his mask off. The gentleman who they're having a retirement for, he goes ahead and because he ended up working with Matt eventually as kind of like his detective, because he's a retired detective, of here, and that's who we meet him, Cherry. He sees Matt, finds out Matt's Daredevil, and Matt throws the mask off, the cowl off, and that's what we saw in the opening of our show here. That leads into the opening of the first episode. And you see the horn broken off and stuff like that, which will come back around later. That's there. And man, I actually wondered, I'm like, dude, did we just kill Foggy and Bullseye in the fucking opening scene of this series?
I thought we did too. And I'll be honest with you, out of the 2 that I thought they were both dead, I'm disappointed with the one they brought back, only because I wanted Foggy. I really like the character, and like, don't get me wrong, I like Bullseye. Bullseye's a great character. Clearly, they're gonna have to keep him around because he's gonna be an asset to the Daredevil part of the MCU.
Yeah.
But oh man, Foggy is fucking Matt's heart. He's his heart.
All right, I'm going to throw something out there for you, and I'm going to just I think we're going to be on the same page with this. So, regarding Foggy's death, their address is 468. Okay? Nelson,
Okay.
Murdoch, and Page. Okay? In Daredevil episode 468, Foggy fakes his own death.
Oh, right. Shit. Oh, we're down the rabbit hole now.
Yes. Then again, I'm not saying that this is the speculation for this.
No, that's interesting. Look, it'll have to make sense if they're doing it, but
I hope, but I hope that's. Yeah. Listen, if we find that he faked his own death, then my God, like I would love to. There's going to be a lot to know how exactly. And also, though, in the comics, Foggy does die and also is resurrected by the Hand along with Stick, and they're used as like spots.
Okay. All right. You know what? That I could see. That I'd be okay with, because we did see the Hand bring in this universe.
Mm-hmm.
We did see the Hand bring Elektra back, right, in the second season. We know that Foggy's in the next season of this.
Yep.
So I'd be okay with that.
All right. So I'm gonna just say at the moment, as much as I do love Foggy, I think that I think they need to make this stick, because I think that there's stakes then.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, his death triggers what we see and what I think this story being told here in Daredevil Born Again is. So I don't know. I don't know how I would feel about it. I don't want him coming back as a spy by the Hand. I don't know if I want to go that route.
I don't want that, but I'd be more. Like, if they're going to bring him back, that is a way that would make sense to me. I wouldn't be like, this is bullshit.
Yeah.
Like, but no, but I don't like that he's dead. But yeah, I mean, it's got to have stakes, and if he's not dead, then it does deflate what's going on in this season. So I agree with you. As much as I don't want him dead, I don't want him brought back.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so then there's a 1 year time jump, and then we find out we catch up with some others. We catch up with Wilson Fisk. We catch up with Vanessa, which Vanessa at this point has become basically embarrassed me in front of Vanessa. Vanessa has become the queen pin at this point.
She has.
So
she has,
because we know as the audience who follows the MCU that Wilson has been gone for a while, and they acknowledge that. So kudos to this show for also acknowledging the events of Echo and Hawkeye. For sure that he has been gone.
Yeah. And they even reference it like I think it's the conversation he has with Matt when he was like, I was mentoring someone and it didn't end well. And we know that that's Echo.
Yeah, well, Matt also says in that scene, which I will get to that scene in a minute, but like Matt says, yeah, didn't she shoot you in the face?
Yes.
So it's just flat out saying, hey, Hawkeye, check, Echo, check. Yeah. Like these things went down. And also like what happened in that final fight between Echo and Kingpin in Echo in the finale, where she's the one who kind of set him on this path for wanting to become mayor, because that's the post-credit scene. So, they're integral in this, but they give you enough here to kind of get an idea. And then, if you want to know more, go watch Echo and go watch Hawkeye.
Yeah, you don't have to have seen it.
No.
To understand that, that which I appreciate.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing that people complain about now in the MCU is I don't want to watch 2 million things just to be able to understand a show. But I think they do a good enough job of saying this was the past. Look, if you know what we're talking about, great. If you don't, we've caught you up.
Yeah, you know enough to get this story, so you can go on. But then when we find out too, though, Wilson is there telling Vanessa like he's going to be running for mayor. He can't have anything seem illegal that he's going to, because he seems like he's legitimately trying to do this. He thinks he wants to go ahead and do what's right for the city. Like, I don't think he's bullshitting. I actually think he's telling the truth.
I agree, and the reason I agree is because I remember season 1. If you remember season 1, he doesn't realize he's the bad guy until the end. Everything he does that's bad is because he wants to help the city. And it's only through literally my favorite monologue in any of these shows when he realized it, when he does in the first season, the Good Samaritan monologue, where I always thought I was the Good Samaritan, but I am actually the evils that, and this is a return to that. Like, he's back to like wanting to be the good guy. And I think that's very smart because it's giving us these parallels to the character that really worked in the first season without rubbing our.
Yeah, I also think it's due to what happened to him with Echo, because she basically calmed him down, right? That's what it was. It was kind of like talking him down, and like helped him deal with his rage. And now he's more singular focused on wanting to do well by the city that he does love, and he's trying to get back to that. So I do think it makes a lot of sense here. And we also see that BB Urich, which Ben Urich, who died in Daredevil, his niece goes ahead and takes up, and she's kind of got this, like, I don't know if you want to call it maybe it's like a YouTube show or something like that. So it seems like it's like a social media video, a vlog, I guess, if you want to say, that she's going around interviewing people, right? Like, am I
yeah,
okay?
No, you're right.
And then we learn also Matt has got a new firm with Murdoch and McDuffie, because we find out Karen left to San Francisco and stuff, and obviously Foggy has passed away. But then there's the trial of Bullseye that's going on here, and Matt testifies in this trial, and Poindexter gets, Bullseye. What did they say? He gets like double life sentences or something like that. Like, he gets something pretty,
something like that.
pretty far in there. But Karen and Matt have this conversation outside of that, and that's when we find out she moved to San Francisco, and like, you know, she's keeping the distance, and they didn't speak right afterwards. Like, the death of Foggy really fractured everything in this, and that's what I think is also reflected in the opening credits when you see the Daredevil theme kick in, right? And you see at the same time, you notice when that kicks in, the Netflix part of it kicks in, you see Nelson, Murdoch, and Paige crumbling and falling apart.
Yep.
Right. So I think that's actually awfully symbolic there. And she hands him the horn, the broken horn that she found that night, and gives it to him. And that plays a role a little bit later. But she's also questioning, like, what did you do with Daredevil? Like, because we find out Matt has not been Daredevil for a year and made a promise to himself that he's gone too far that night. And it was pushing Bullseye off the roof, and he went to murder. He went to kill.
Right. Right, and which introduces something that I think really works well is he has anger, right? This season, I think I might be cribbing from you in a text that you sent to Rick that I was reading through, but you know, these whole 2 episodes are 2 men, Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock, realizing that their demons, their devils, have taken over, and they want to be better men. And they don't want to be fucking controlled by their anger, which is almost all-consuming in them. And they're both trying to make decisions to that end.
And that's what I think a lot of it is. And I do want to get to it because it is one of my favorite scenes. And I also think it's, if you look at our background right now, if you're watching us, their poster for this that they're showing is like 2 sides of kind of like the same coin here, with Wilson Fisk and Matt Murdock, Daredevil and Kingpin here. And I think that is a lot of, you're right. I think that's what this, at least this season, is trying to tell. That's the story of the season. And that's where I think that conversation, that incredible conversation in the diner, is basically about. But we find out Matt hears that Wilson Fisk is declared his candidacy for mayor. He hears it from a distance, and obviously, like, he lights up because he knows Fisk that's there. And then we see that Kristen, his new partner in the firm, sets him up on a date inadvertently with a friend of hers that's a psychiatrist named Heather Glenn.
That date was hysterical because they come and sit down, and he goes, "All right, so you know, what did you need to talk about? Like, you need a lawyer." And she's like, "Oh no, I thought you needed a psychiatrist." And they're both like, "Oh fuck, this is a blind date." They have that moment, and then Matt's being a dick, and she calls him on it, and I think that's what makes Matt like her.
Oh, that's Matt's MO now. Like with a lot of things, if you look at a lot of his relationships, that forget about it, because you know, Matt is basically. He is the pimp of Marvel. Like, I mean, come on, like, it's insane now at this point. He's like the James Bond of Marvel.
He is, and I think by the end of this episode that we are doing of Granny's Peach Tea, we need to discuss when him and She-Hulk got it on in the timeline.
In the time, okay, yeah, that's
because
that's a fair point.
It looked. It's canon. They did. So when did it happen?
I don't know. I mean, it could. Well, the thing was, there's supposed to be a time gap between season 3 and Born Again. So I mean, it could be.
And that is what I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's. I think it happened when we saw it. Like that's been my thing with it. But so Fisk is also, he's running on a platform, anti-vigilante platform. Like, that's his thing, because and he even uses how he has endured vigilante violence, obviously by the hands of Daredevil, in the past.
Yeah,
and that's what he's running on here. But then Matt confronts him right after his press conference, and they have a conversation in a diner, which is extremely intense. And basically, neither one of them is buying that the other has turned the page, which I also think is symbolic. How they are very much two sides of the same coin in this, and both of them are calling each other out on bullshit, what they think is bullshit.
Yeah. And what I love about this too, it's like they don't seem like enemies. They're kind of like old friends, and they're not friends, but I could see how that plays because they are two people, maybe the only two people in the world who really know the other one, right? Like they've really gotten to know each other, and Matt's not there to take Fisk down; he's there to size him up. But Fisk isn't there to take Matt down. Fisk isn't there to. This isn't a fucking trap for Daredevil. We're sizing each other up. We both think we're turning a page. We both want to be better. I'm trying to size up if you're as genuine as I think I am. And I think that's very important to these characters.
So what I had texted you and Rick the other day was basically a lot of it was around my thoughts on this scene in the diner, where I kind of feel like both of them, Matt Murdock and Wilson Fisk, are both suppressing their true nature at this point in time, right? You got Matt, who is holding back being Daredevil, which, as we find out later, that is his outlet for his anger. Like, even though he's doing good with it, but he's using his anger as a guided weapon to get justice and do well by people and do good. And then you have Wilson Fisk, who kind of also thinks he's doing the same thing, right, in a way, but he's also suppressing part of it due to what happened with Echo, right? But because you notice, though, throughout this show, without these two episodes, there is shots of Wilson Fisk's hand that are kind of like moving and like ripping and like twitchy at times, where it seems like he's breaking through a little bit, little by little. And then when everyone starts doubting him, because we see the police are doubting him, their voters doubting, even though he wins this election, but half the police force are threatened to walk out on him at one point, and the commissioner tries to quit, and then he resorts to what he knows when push comes to shove, right? In the end, right?
Yes.
And Matt in episode 2 does the same thing in a way, right? When push comes to shove, he resorts to his true nature as well. But I think not to jump ahead, but in this intense conversation that they're having, you're right. They're sizing each other up, and they're not buying it. And there's barbs being thrown, like we had mentioned, the mentor thing. Like, she shot you in the face because, like, you're a piece of shit. Right. That's kind of what he's saying. Like, that's what would happen to someone like you.
And that's the thing, is they're insulting each other, they're sizing each other up, but there is a familiarity. That's why I say they're not friends, but this is like a friendship, because they're like, it's almost the it's almost the Charles Xavier Magneto, except they actually are friends. But like, it's that relationship where we're enemies, but we know each other so well that we can say these things. And that's the thing, is like, are they both angry at each other? Yes, but they're both angry characters. That's the point. And neither of them, it was not a trap for either of them. And it could have been very easily, Fisk set this up and cops come and arrest Daredevil, or Daredevil sets this up and it's to get Fisk. But no, they're legitimately just having a conversation where they're trading barbs and insults and questioning each other, but they're not declaring war on each other. And I think that's the real interesting part.
Yeah, and Matt is Matt's also saying, like, at the end of this, he's kind of like, listen, you step out of line, I'll be here. I'm going to be here. And then Wilson Fisk's retort to that is perfect. He's like, who's going to be here? Like, your darker half as Daredevil? Yeah. Is that where you're going to go? Exactly. You're going to go right to that? Or, and Matt's like, no, I will be here. Me. I'm not that guy anymore. That's not me. And they're both basically saying, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm not that guy anymore. And Wilson Fisk says, you tried to kill me a few times. He's like, no, no, I would never kill you. Matt Murdock's like, no, I was trying to bring you to justice, like take you down, sure, but I wasn't trying to kill you. You tried to kill me on numerous occasions. Like it was so fascinating. But he also says though, Fisk goes out of his way to say, like, I'm sorry to hear about your friend. I did not send Bullseye though. If you think I sent him, no.
Yeah. But I think Matt also knew that.
Yes, like, I don't think he was implying it.
No, I don't think Matt thought that, but I thought it was interesting, like, because these are two guys trying to clear the air, right? And I think it's interesting now that we're talking about this. Matt Murdock is a symbol of the law who is secretly doing things that are against the law for the right reasons, or so he feels. And I guess that's the conversation we're going to have this season. Wilson Fisk is a guy who did things away from the law for reasons he felt were right, but now he's trying to be representative of the law. They're almost trying to switch places.
Yes. Yeah, in a way. And so I think that's why I think this scene sets up everything for this season. Maybe even for this series, because we know there's going to be a second season, but like it's that's why I think it just sets everything up. So when that leaves off, we also, by the way, get to who I'm wondering if he's a watcher. Pat Kiernan of New York One. Once again, appears in this. He is in all things Marvel at all times. I wonder if he's a watcher.
Does Pat Kiernan even still work for New York One, or is he retired?
No, he does. He's every morning. No, mornings on One. He is the main anchor.
Which I love. I love my Pat. I'm a New Yorker. I remember him. I don't watch the news anymore, but I know who he is. I hope he's a watcher. And I hope at the end of the MCU, if they ever give awards, he gets the MCU MVP or comic book hero MVP because he's in every one of these fucking movies that take place in New York.
It's crazy. It's crazy. I love it though. But then while Matt's out on a date, he finds out that Wilson Fisk won. He's the mayor of New York City. And then he kind of like drifts off on his date because she even questions, like, is there a past? Like, you've been so locked in on this, like, throughout the whole thing. You can tell, like, it's on his mind all the time. He's listening and hearing in it constantly. And then there's such a beautiful imagery at the end of this episode when he wins, and you see Fisk up on top of a rooftop looking down. He has this like white shining light on him, which is kind of like also a poster of this that's been used in promotion. And then Matt is in this dark red light looking up at him there. And that's basically how the first episode ends. And I thought that was so symbolic and so beautifully shot. Yeah. It was so awesome.
Yeah, that was so nice. And I also wanted to point out that, like, we see Wilson Fisk in a black suit. Right, that was these two. I'm not, because I might conflate shit with the third season. So if I do, call me out. But but I think it was really interesting because he was a guy who was the hero when he's the villain, and so white always symbolically equals purity. And then in this, he dons the black suit while he's trying to, I guess, earn the white suit back, right? He's trying to prove to himself he can be the hero that he's trying to be. So I think there's so many smart, even like symbolic color choices that goes on here.
Yes, I mean, the show visually is also beautiful. Like, there's a lot of great things in here. Then episode 2 picks up where Fisk is having this speech to New York City on camera, talking about, and it's on New Year's Eve. And he's giving this whole thing is anti-vigilante platform he's speaking on, but he references we don't need a gun-toting guy with a skull on his chest, some kid running around in a spider costume, and also one dressed up as a devil in here. And my God, I was like, wow, there it is. He is referencing the 3 New York heroes, but I also think it's interesting, though, that this kind of tells us in a way that Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, I mean, not the show, but since last we saw Tom Holland Spider-Man, he's been doing Friendly Neighborhood stuff and fighting crime in New York City, like lower level street crime. That's what that tells me, at least.
I mean, we saw that in the movies, though. Like this, I mean, that's where Spider-Man gets his start in the Spider-Man movies. Like we are introduced to him in Civil War, where he's robbing an old man of his shield. But in his own movies, he's taken down, street level guys. Though this did raise a question for me. It's not a ball busting question. It's not of like, oh, I gotcha question, but a legitimate question. What does Matt Murdock think that he defended Peter Parker from?
It's a fair question.
No one knows that Peter Parker's Spider-Man, and he didn't defend Spider-Man. He defended Peter Parker. So what does he think he defended him for? And will that even come into play? And should it? I don't know, but it's a question I had.
So I thought about this. So this is definitely not any, there's not anything there, but so there's a scene in episode 2 where he mentions that Matt says that because he finds out that Heather Glenn was from Queens, right? And he mentions, oh yeah, she's like, oh yeah, you've been to Queens recently. I thought that's what we were getting. I thought it was going to be, oh, I actually had to go there to defend a client, recently or something like that.
Right.
But he doesn't say that. So my thing is like, I think he knows he went to go defend a case, but he doesn't know that it was Peter Parker. He just doesn't know Peter Parker equals Spider-Man. So it could have been like, hey, I went to defend, I went to go defend the person who we believe is Peter Parker, is Spider-Man, but he just, that part is like a blank. That's how I see it. That's how I interpret it. You know what I mean?
That's fair.
Kind of like a redacted, if you want to just look at it like
right. That. Although I think an argument can be made that Matt Murdock still knows who Peter Parker is, but can't tell anyone because of client privilege, lawyer privilege, client confidentiality.
Client privilege, yeah.
That's it. So maybe
that is also a good case to be made there. But I do think, I will say that was one scene that was a little bit of a letdown where I was like, I thought that's exactly, and I was like, oh shit, it's coming. He's going to say he was in Queens to defend a client. And no, he went another route, which is fine. But I would have been like, that would have been so fucking cool. But he does get his client to defend, though, which it is another vigilante, because we do see there's a scene here where there's a gentleman here who goes and he fends off a mugging in a platform here, and it turns out it is 2 undercover cops that are involved in this, and he saves somebody, but one of them stumbles in front of a train that's here, and he ends up dying, and that's what spurs off the whole thing. He gets arrested by the other guy as a cop killer, and then it turns out later that Matt overhears him getting beaten in a interrogation room because he's there for something completely different, for a DUI case.
That's right.
And we find out that it's White Tiger that just didn't have his suit or his amulet on him to give him powers, and that's basically who Matt is defending throughout this episode. And I thought that was, a pretty interesting way to weave White Tiger into this whole thing, because we knew we had heard he was in it, but I wasn't sure exactly how far. Unfortunately, the actor who plays him did pass away in real life, and they do give it in memory.
Oh shit!
Yeah, in memory before the episode.
Oh fuck! I didn't see that. He was so good. That's so sad. He was so good.
Yeah, it's
okay.
Sucks, but yeah, that's where in the beginning of episode 2, they do give the memoriam for him, like that was in his wake that's here. But he's going ahead and defending him throughout the episode here. But also, I thought Fisk also gave an interesting speech about Fiorello LaGuardia, where he's asking about the desk and how long it's been there for. And he shows that his father had reverence for him and respected him. He didn't respect many men, but he respected Mayor LaGuardia.
LaGuardia, which
See-
little Granny's peach tea behind the scenes trivia. Ed and I both went to a high school that was affiliated with LaGuardia College, and I think we both took classes at LaGuardia College unmatriculated.
We absolutely did. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I played high school basketball in LaGuardia College as well, many times.
So we Vanessa, we are both also deeply indebted to Fiorella LaGuardia.
Yeah, that was. See, it all comes right back around, right? Doesn't it?
It does. But I'm making fun of it. But I actually thought that was a very interesting moment. I thought that was a very interesting speech. And again, it tells us it's amazing that Fisk is still hooked. Like, not amazing, but it's amazing that they remember that part of Fisk's motivation is his dad, for better or for worse.
Yeah, he doesn't have he's not holding in rage for him anymore, again, due to what happened with Echo. But he's still like, it's not like he didn't forget who he is, you know.
Yeah.
So there is that. We had mentioned that, where Matt goes ahead and hears him being questioned, and he decides to go ahead and that's he's defending him for this. By the way, the actor's name is Camar de los Reyes, who had passed away, who plays Hector Ayala in this.
He was good. That's sad.
No, he was. And then we see where Fisk is also getting caught in traffic as he's doing his rounds and stuff like that. And there's a pothole that's there, and it's causing the traffic. And he jumps out and he's like, "Hey, get this pothole filled." And the guy's like, "Well, we're waiting for approval, permits and stuff." He's like, "No, we'll consider it approved." And he uses it as an opportunity because basically it's Fisk will fix it. That's his slogan throughout this. And he's showing that, and he's getting his name out there as he's just been elected. So, and I do wonder if that whole pothole thing is going to come back around later on. We're going to find out maybe like it was done too quickly or something like that, and yada yada.
Right. And I wouldn't be surprised, and it would be very in tone with what's going on, because also, like, if you think about it, Fisk comes out and says, "Fix this pothole," and they go, "Well, the requisitions, the paperwork isn't in order, it hasn't been approved," and he goes, "It's approved, just shut up and do it." Mm-hmm. It's a very Fisk way of doing things, like even the right thing, like going, "No, I'm going to use power to get this done." But you're right. Is it done right? Isn't there a reason that you have to get certain things approved and look?
Yeah. It's not always just like bullshit.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of where they're going.
Yeah. So then we see where basically the Heather, who is Matt is seeing at this point, is doing an autograph signing at a book she wrote. And besides Fisk guy getting a something signed by her, because later on in the episode, we see Vanessa and Fisk go to her for couples therapy, right? But more on that in a minute. But also someone who pops up there is basically the character who ends up being Muse, who's another villain we're going to get in the season. He's there and gets her, and it's like he's basically asking her for help. He's saying that he almost like needs help at that point. And I didn't clock that the first time around, but the second time around watching it, I clocked who it was. And I'm like, oh shit. So Muse has already been introduced, but not as actual Muse. So,
interesting. I didn't clock that at all.
No, I thought that was a pretty cool thing. And then Fisk also confronts the police commissioner at a funeral for the cops who had passed away. And they have this whole thing, and he's basically telling them also, "You're full of shit. I've seen what you do. I know you're a whole thing. My whole end game here is going to make sure you have the shortest run of any mayor in New York City history, less than 1 month. Because you're a piece of shit, and I don't trust you as far as I can throw you." But later on, when he goes to resign and goes to Fisk's office, he tells him, "I'm going to resign as of midnight tonight, and I'm taking half the police force with me." basically.
Mm-hmm.
So you're gonna have to do all this stuff. He finds out he tells him, he's like, hey, aren't you from Philadelphia? And he's like, yeah. And then he's like, well, he starts talking about cheesesteak, and then picks up this wrapper and shows him a
Oh
picture
my God.
of basically an illegitimate child he's had, I guess, outside of his wedding or outside of his marriage.
Yeah.
And so he's basically saying, dude, I've done my homework on you. I know everything about you. Shut up and do your job. Which what I was alluding to earlier is when shit hits the fan, Fisk is going to turn back to being Fisk. Not saying that politicians wouldn't do this anyway, though.
No, but I think also that's kind of the point that this season is making, is that there's a thin line between politician and career criminal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that was and
I think it's very important. No, sorry, go ahead.
No, good. And I was just saying that he easily goes there immediately. And I do wonder at another point if he's going there again, which I wanted to say for a minute. But we find out again that Matt finds out that Hector is through some investigating of his own, and he sends Cherry to do it. Where he find out that White Tiger is there. He's got the amulet in his apartment, but he didn't do it. He didn't have it on him when this whole incident happened. And he tells him that, but it's interesting though because Matt Murdock is facing and representing White Tiger, and we've seen them have battles in the past, as on the TV in episode 1. So we know that it's been vigilante on vigilante, there for a minute. But Matt's also telling him about all this stuff, but in a way like, Matt, we know you were Daredevil also. So you're trying to I thought that was really interesting. And Sherry even mentions it at one point where they're having that conversation where he's fiddling with the horn and he's kind of thinking about things, I guess, in general. He's like, maybe this is hitting too close to home for you because knowing that you were Daredevil, and he promises no. I know he's telling the truth. He's innocent. Because he knows that he has this ability. So he can hear his heartbeat.
He's listening to his heart. He's listening to his heartbeat. He knows it. And I think it's really interesting that we're seeing Fisk, when he needs to get something done, go back to his brute force. But Matt, when he needs to get something done, is trying to rely on... Well, no, he's still relying on the old Daredevil tricks. It's not violence, but it's still, I'm listening, I'm doing this. But it's two people dipping back into who they were for what they both feel is the right reason.
Well, I think we're... Sorry, go ahead.
One isn't. No, I think one is the right reason and one isn't. But that's the point of the episode is they don't see it.
Well, I also think though that what Matt does with listening and hearing and stuff like that, I think that's just what he can do. I mean, these are just his abilities.
Yes,
it is what it is. But I was gonna say is what happens at the ending. What happens at the ending is more in line with exactly what you're saying. Your point is still 100% valid. That it was just I personally saw it more as that though, instead of the hearing thing.
Yeah, I guess it is something he can do, but I think it is also something indicative of the Daredevil power, and I think so. I think this was a little bit of foreshadowing for what happens at the end, because it is him falling back on old skills. It's old skills that he can do, that it's not necessarily evil or bad, but it's one step closer to the Daredevil.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. So I also think it was an interesting quick scene too, which is the one that was shot by my office, where he's listening outside of the church from across the street, from a distance, before he kind of gets his call to kind of he gets tipped off about what's going on with his client. But that also tells me though that probably Matt has not been going to church and doing his thing, because we do know that how important that his faith is to the character. So he's struggling on all levels.
A nun, rather.
Yeah. So on all levels, Matt is struggling, since the death of Foggy Nelson a year ago. I thought it was another good example of him denying his true nature of who he really is in a way.
Yeah.
Because that is at the core of him as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like his Catholicism, his faith is so integral to the character that when he's not following it, it is a cue to the audience something is wrong.
Yes, absolutely. So then when Wilson Fisk and Vanessa go to couples therapy and they go to Heather for this, who is Daredevil's girlfriend, they go in because basically they have grown up, they've been apart. They explain that Wilson Fisk has been gone for a while. She took over. They mention it's a business they've been running and stuff like that. They're sitting on opposite sides of the couch. Like they're obviously having issues there. But I thought it was very interesting that they chose Heather Glenn as the therapist. Do you think this is something nefarious going on with Wilson Fisk, or do you think they just happen to choose that therapist?
So, had I not just watched season 3 a week ago, finished it a week ago, I would have said, nah, it was an accident. It's one of those things. But season 3 taught me there are no accidents. Because if you remember in season 3, every single thing that happens through that season that seems accidental or by chance was this elaborate fucking 4D chess plot by Wilson Fisk. To the recruiting of Agent Nadeem, to getting attacked and moved to a penthouse that he owned, all of that. So I don't think I am capable of believing there is a coincidence when Wilson Fisk is involved.
I fully agree. I do not think this is a coincidence at all. I think
he
wants to make sure that he's keeping tabs on Matt Murdock as well. And I think maybe he wants to apply pressure to him just in case. I don't know. I don't know exactly what his plan is, but it's definitely part of his plan. Vanessa probably doesn't know it. I don't think she's in on his plan.
No.
But it's definitely Wilson.
I don't think so either. And remember what he did with the police commissioner. Look at this picture of your illegitimate child. I've got dirt on you.
Yep.
I think this might be a way of him trying to get dirt on Matt Murdock in case Matt Murdock does go Daredevil again. He can take him down.
Yep, exactly. His whole anti-vigilante thing and stuff like that.
Yep.
All right, so we're on the same page with that as well. So when Matt gets his call as he's outside of that church, he finds out that the victim from the subway he needs to go protect him because there's two dirty cops, one of them that was there that night and another one, are going there to kill this witness, essentially. Right? They're gonna go to take this dude out at his house. So Matt gets there ahead of time. He basically tells them he lets him escape, right, throughout the window and stuff. And the cops come in. They see Matt. They start attacking Matt. They know who Matt is also, not Daredevil. They know that he's the lawyer, and they also know he's blind, and they're kind of beating the crap out of him. And he's telling them to stop. He's telling them, don't want to do this. Don't want to do this. He's trying to make them stop. And then eventually Matt gets pushed to the edge where he fucking snaps. And he beats the piss out of these two, breaks one's fucking arm. And I wonder if did he snap that fucking dude's neck? When he throws him on the floor, it looks like he snapped his neck.
Yeah, I don't know. It's possible. I would not be surprised that this show is going to go that dark.
And he lets out this primal fucking scream when it's done. And that's why I think this is his release that he's been toying with. Like the scene where he's talking to Cherry and he's playing with the horn little by little, and he was getting pushed to this. And now his true nature, like Fisk's nature, came out in the end.
He's born again.
And that's where it ends.
Like Fisk was. Yeah. It says, yeah.
I wonder if the cop is dead. Though. I do wonder if the cop is dead.
I don't know.
Because boy, does he land fucked up.
I mean,
man. At least got a broken neck.
If it comes up again. Oh yeah, no. I mean, although maybe he's bullseye dead, where he'll be fine.
Hand wave, it's okay.
Not foggy dead.
No, different levels of dead in so far in these two episodes. But I will say it is definitely off to a fucking phenomenal start, man. I am so jacked up, so excited that this show is back, man.
Same. This is I'm really, really excited. I'm really enjoying this. I think and it's matching the tone. Again, I just finished the third season. It's matching the tone. The only difference that I picked up on was it's a bit more bloody. It's a bit more, not violent, but a bit more bloody. And I think that is, and I wouldn't even be surprised if we don't see that again. I think that was a way to sort of communicate to the fans, we're not Disneyfying this. Trust us.
And also announced, I mean, we know Frank Castle in Punisher is going to be in this series, in this season too, is they're going to do a Marvel special presentation on the Punisher that actually John Bernthal is co-writing.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was announced this week as well. And he was talking about it at South by Southwest. And he was even saying that it's going to be, this is not going to be Punisher light. Like, don't be mistaken. We're bringing it. So yeah. I can't fucking wait. I mean, man, this just having it back is awesome, man.
It's nice, and it's nice that Charlie Cox as Vincent D'Onofrio, like, they did right. They did, like, as much as they did wrong by Foggy, they did right by the show and these characters, and I'm very happy with what we got.
Yeah, and we shall see if that's what ends up happening with Foggy, if he ends up returning, if the Hand brings him back as a ninja spy or whatever.
Whatever.
I would be curious to see how that would play out. All right. So that kind of does it for us this week. Thanks for joining us as always. If you're joining us on the Facebook live stream, be sure to check us out on Granny's Peach Tea's Facebook group as we drop a bunch of trailers and stories and stuff that don't make the show every week. Check us out there. It's a lot of fun. Pop Culture Pros and popculturepros.com, because that's who we are presented by, as well as on YouTube. Subscribe to Pop Culture Pros and wherever you found your audio-only podcast. Jason and I will be back next week. We will have a season finale of Invincible to talk about, along with episode 9 of Harley Quinn and episode 3 of Daredevil Born Again. So can't wait to get to that. Tuesday night can't get here fast enough. And we'll see you next week. Peace.